I know. I know. I know. You know, my needle drop, sometimes you just gotta stick to your guns until you find a weapon of mass destruction. I just haven't found a weapon of mass destruction yet. When I do, I will use the weapon of mass destruction. But as of right now, I'm gonna... Alright guys, we're gonna do an album review here. The sophomore LP from Tobacco, Maniac Meat. So Tobacco isn't something you just smoke, guys. It's also the solo project of Black Moth Super Rainbow frontman
Tobacco.
And Black Moth Super Rainbow has a pretty distinct sound. Really crispy breakbeat drums, fuzzy synths, damaging distortion, heavy reverb, and phaser-fed vocoder vocals. And there's a BMSR track that you should check out. In 2007, 2008, Tobacco introduced us to his solo work with Fucked Up Friends, with a DVD release and a CD release. And to be honest, the line between these two projects is very gray, very faded. Tough to tell where one starts and the other ends. If they weren't labeled differently, it would be difficult to tell what's a Tobacco track and what's a Black Moth Super Rainbow track, especially because about 80 to 90% of the sounds that are in Black Moth Super Rainbow releases show up on Tobacco albums too. But if I had to lay my hand on a clear, concise difference between these two projects, I'd say that Tobacco sports a much heavier hip-hop influence, for sure. Especially on their latest LP, Black Moth Super Rainbow sets their song structures in a much poppier, much more accessible vein, whereas this new Tobacco is a lot more adventurous, a lot more free-spirited, slightly less immediate, and a little bit noisier, too. This is the type of stuff that can really make your head spin if you let it. Lots of reverb on melodies that just swirl them into puddles of color, and very intentionally damaged production that brings 100 different kinds of lo-fi sounds into the mix. But don't get me wrong, some sounds on this LP are lo-fi, some are hi-fi, could be a melody, could be a beat. Something's going to sound torn, but there's also going to be something that sounds part of the way decent to give this track some kind of dynamic. No matter what direction sonically or melodically each song goes in, at least there's a pretty fat beat anchoring things down and keeping things sensible. A lot like on this track, Sweatmother. These are basically some really creepy, spooky, danceable electronics that would make the perfect soundtrack to your next Halloween party.
Or if you're the type of person that has costume parties in the summer.
Invite me.
Hopefully there are a lot of first-time listeners on this new Tobacco album because Beck, yes, the great Beck, actually lends his vocals on 2 tracks, which is pretty nice. But among these 16 tracks, yeah, you get 16. Bang for your buck. Among these 16 tracks, there are some misses, and some tracks are so short it's kind of hard to fall in love with them. I was actually kind of surprised to find out that the Beck tracks were actually 2 of the shortest. Some tracks just kind of come off as rough ideas as opposed to finished products, but Tobacco doesn't really strike me as a project that puts an emphasis on sprucing things up and polishing things off. If you're into the Black Moth Super Rainbow sound, if you're into the Tobacco sound, this thing is going to hit you with some pretty considerable variation. If you're outside of that box, a lot of these tracks may come off sounding the same. But I have to say, a lot of different colors here. I think this LP is a little bit more ambitious than Fucked Up Friends. Has a lot of the same sounds, but is a little less monotonous. And Maniac Meat, this LP, it really speaks to my dance music bias. I have a pretty strong dance music bias. Arguably, Tobacco is doing what he's always done, but he's doing it better than ever. And that's how I'm pretty much feeling on this LP. I think my major gripe is that this thing is so sonically similar to that previous LP, to Black Moth Super Rainbow. It's kind of difficult to tell whether or not this thing is actually going to leave a lasting impression on me, or if it's just going to kind of fall into the gray area with the other BMSR stuff, the other Tobacco stuff. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this LP. If you're looking for a change from Tobacco, a significant change, you're going to be disappointed. However, he's still put together an album that has funked the hell out of my dancing shoes. Also, I want to make a note that this review is actually a 3-view I'm doing in collaboration with Sir All About Music and Jumbled Junkie Music, so head over to their channels, if not now, when you're watching this video, later today they will have reviews of this same LP up. Cools? Cools. Anthony Fantano Tobacco Maniac, meat forever.